The budget meeting for the Plaquemines Council as sole government authority for the Plaquemines Parish, Port Harbor, and Terminal District is now called to order. The machines are open. Let the record reflect that 6 of 9 council members are here. I expect Councilman Edwards to be joining us shortly. Commissioner LaFrance, Commissioner Jurisic may not be in attendance today. Go ahead and
Francis said he's on his way.
He's on his way? Okay, thank you.
That's if he could get through the flood.
Okay, great. Love to have him. I will go ahead and start with the prayer by Commissioner Gouy, followed by the pledge by Commissioner McCarty.
Bow our heads, please. Take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom. And we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray for this government body comprised of both council and administration, and will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, Rep.
Let the record state that Commissioner Edwards has now joined us. Before we begin, Director Tillotson, do you have any opening comments?
Before we start, I'd just like to take the privilege of honoring someone here today who I haven't seen in this chamber for quite a while, and that would be Mr. Tommy Surpass.
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. I'd say I'm glad to be back, but
Director Tillotson, any opening comments?
Yes, I second that. When Mr. Surpass told me that he was going to be here, it was a sigh of relief. I do have a quick, a few slides here just to summarize what's in my letter. If I can go through that. So, Crystal, if you can put that slideshow up. So, I'd like to thank the Commission, for this opportunity to be here, coming up on my third year. We've had some challenges over the last 2 years, and I can honestly say to each of you that you guys have all stretched me in different ways, and I do believe that I am a different person today than I was in 2022, this time when I joined the port. So when we look at our 2025 budget message, it's customary for us to have a letter in front of the budget, but what I wanted to do differently this year was to actually put a slide presentation up. And when you look at our 2025 budget, you guys have heard us talk about turning bigger ships faster. And if you look at the presentation in front of you, if you look off to the left side of this vessel that's on the presentation, what you will see is what we call a Panamax vessel at United Bulk Terminals, and behind it is a Handymax vessel. Now, what you do not see is to the starboard side of that container vessel that's moving down the river is another Panamax vessel at International Marine Terminals. And I happen to be on that container terminal with the pilots. When we talk about turning bigger ships faster, it reduces costs for ocean carriers. Plaquemines Port has the lowest pilotage costs on the Mississippi River, guaranteed. And that is a huge value proposition for our customers. And go ahead and move the slide for me, please. Okay, so just to talk about the 2025 budget, just to summarize what's in that letter, first and foremost, our budget revenue and expenses, it's a tool for managing our success. And I really want to emphasize that we have a balanced budget and we have a $7.2 million unrestricted balance as of right now. So we are in a very strong position, to execute our goals and moving forward. Our operating budget for 2025 focuses on a one-year period, whereas our capital improvement budget, which you will see in our plan, focuses on a 5-year plan. And this is the first time that the port has actually had a 5-year capital improvement plan in the budget. So we are doing planning today, in this budget today, for what we need to do over the next 5 years. And then I would also like to say that our financial goals are aligned with our 2024 master plan. That is extremely important. I appreciate that this commission had the confidence in the port to support us building that master plan. And one of the things that we promised in return was that our master plan would not just be a document that sits on the shelf. So we are using that master plan. Our vision is the port aims to be the leading U.S. international gateway in the Gulf of Mexico, turning bigger ships faster. The value proposition there is that it reduces costs for ocean carriers, and that is a value add for attracting more vessels to come to Plaquemines Port. I think it's important for us to note that when we look at the port's revenue comes from tariffs, leases, and grants. It does not come from taxpayer dollars, but the port business actually drives sales tax. I think that's important for the public to understand about how we operate as an entity. Next slide, please. So the leadership focus for 2025. Our financial management focus really is about growing our revenue, growing our tonnage, and we are closely aligning our growth plans with our 2023 market study. So that is our benchmark. Again, we are using those tools that we've already invested in to ensure, our growth. Our focus this year is really about reducing costs and mitigating risks to the port. One additional thing that we're going to do this year, different from last year, is we're starting to chase continuous improvement and excellence. So we're aligning our culture with the 2024 master plan. We're seeking a ISO 9000 certification, and we are rebranding the port to ensure that our strategic story is communicated across the world. Next slide, please. And just to talk a little bit about a continuous improvement environment, it's really all about our policies and our procedures. And as most of you know, we've adopted our policies and our procedures, but adopting those policies and procedures does nothing if we're not constantly operating by those policies and ensuring that when we find areas where we can improve, that we're improving those policies. So an ISO certification really is about setting an international standard for continuous improvement. And, I won't belittle you with the details. You can read on ISO 9000. But starting January, you will be hearing a lot. The ports team will be stretched with going through this certification process. It will include a very rigorous review and revamp of our policies and procedures. It will also include a very rigorous internal audit process where we will be auditing ourselves, and we will have an external auditor with us as well. And this is in addition to our, one-time annual financial audit. This is important because it adds confidence to how customers think about doing business with ISO certified entities. With that, before I turn the floor over to Mr. Surpass, I'm open to any questions. And again, this was really a summary from the budget message that's on top of the budget book. Thank you.
Any comments from the table? Mr. Surpass?
All right, what I'd like to do is, you each got the budget book. What I'll do is I'll just go through each page of the book and highlight some of the larger things. When we get to the expenses and the revenues, I'll highlight the increases and decreases of the larger things. If y'all want to stop me or go back and forth, we can do that whenever you're ready. Just let me know. And I'll just go ahead through it, and like I say, if you have any questions, just stop me anytime. As Charles said, the budget message, he kind of highlighted the things that are on here, so I'm not gonna read this and go through this. First thing I want to go to is the budget summary. And if you follow along in the book, you can, the tabs will say exactly what I'm on. So I'm on the green tab, which is the budget summary. And what this does is just gives you a look at the different fund balances that we had in the different years. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on 2024 and 2025 so you can see the differences there. If you look at the budget for 2024, you see revenues and expenses, revenues of $59,509,480 and expenses of $58,552,773. Now, if you look at 2025, say, well, that's a decrease. The revenues went down to 35 million and the expenses went to 34. Well, what happens is, as I know you see this in the parish budget also, we budget capital projects during the year, they roll over. So we had a project for the ferry ramp replacement, which was, we had a grant of $18 million. So what happened was we took that budget is not in the 2025 budget at 18 million. So that's pretty much what your difference is. So it's that project. So your revenues are 35 million, the expenses are 34,073, and you have 927,000 to the good, which is a 3% decrease from 2024. If we go down towards the bottom, you're going to see the restrictions for capital assets, which is our all our capital, all of our equipment, the boats and the buildings and all the different things, is 76,397,000. The Port Land Fund. This is the fund where we put 20% of the tariff fees in the budget each year for land purchase. And we y'all been putting money in here every year, but taking the money out to purchase land, for land acquisition. As you'll see later in the budget, there is on the land acquisition a line item to purchase property of $4 million. And that's, I mean, Charles may want to talk about that when we get to that budget. But your land fund is 2.115. I'll show you a summary on that. And your unrestricted fund balance is 7,158,996, which is a 6% increase over 2024. Any questions on any of this? Okay, move on. This is just a summary. I'll hit this briefly. This is a summary of the land fund and how the things changed. Good?
You in?
Yeah, I did. I want to go back
Oh, I'm sorry.
to the tariffs. You say you're using 20% for land acquisition. How much do we receive in tariffs as a whole?
Okay, I'm going to show you right now. If you look at this page at the bottom, the total tariff revenue that we budgeted in for 2025 is $7,093,000. We're taking 20% of that and putting it into the land fund, which is $1,418,740. But we're taking out $1,005,000 out of that fund to supplement that $4 million land purchase that I talked about a second ago. So that leaves you a balance of $2,115,432 in the land fund.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. The next page is port security grants. These are grants that we receive 75% from federal government, and we match 25%. These are in the budget. This is just a summary of showing you the different grants that we receive. If you compare this to last year, there were a lot more, but a lot of those grants have finished, and so this is what we have left. Any questions on that? Jalen can and give you an explanation of these. You're going to see these later too in the budget, in the expense budget. All right, what I like to do here, we have the next page is by subcategory. This is a good report if we want to go and look exactly what we spent on certain line items. So say like janitorial supplies, I'll give you for instance. If you want to see what's spent throughout the port in all the different divisions, this is the report that we're going to use. But we're just going to skip this one, and we could come back to it if we need to. This is just a summary of the details. All right, the next page, the blue page, and it's going to be the light blue tab, and the only blue page that's in this book. This is the revenues. As we talked about, I told you just a minute ago, the port security grants you see here, these are the revenues for the port security grants. These are the revenues, the 75% that we'll be receiving from the federal government as these grants go through. Also, you see a grant from the federal government for the WRDA. This is the grant that kind of passes through the port. The parish is actually the one that receives this grant. This is for the dredging in the harbors and things like that. We didn't put this in the budget in prior years, but Charles wanted to put this in here to show you that, you know, we are receiving revenues and you have an expense in here for the same amount that goes to the parish. And they request the money as the projects go along. Okay, the next thing, you were talking about tariffs, Councilman. Here is the breakdown of all the different tariffs. The total that we're budgeting for 2025 is $7,093,700. The amount that we budgeted in 2024 was $7.2 million, which is a decrease of 2.64. The reason there's a decrease here is because when the 2024 budget was done, this budget, I think, was overstated. If you look at what the actual was for 2023, which you look at this column at the beginning, it's 6.6 million. So I think 2024 is going to be a little bit more than that, but it's not going to reach 7.2. So when I have an ordinance on the table in December, you're going to vote on. We're going to decrease this the tariff fee down to what we think it's going to be for 2024. That's why I decreased it for 2025.
Ms. McCarty, you have a question?
Yes. Have our tariffs decreased because we have less, well, I don't see ships, I see cargo, docking, anchoring, well, anchoring would be ships. Have our tariffs decreased because we have less traffic?
No, I think what Mr. Surpass is saying is that budget was set when we all arrived here in 2022, and when we look back across the details on how they came to that number, we don't know how they came to that number, so we didn't hit it in 2023. So what we're doing now is we are right-sizing the budget. More importantly, this, tariff management will be part of that ISO 9000 process, so we're going to create a different process for estimating what the budget will be in the future, based on real-time data from our partners on the river.
If you want to look at the real increase, if you look at 2023 actual, which was 6.6 million, this year we budgeted almost 7.1. So you can see there is about a $500,000 increase over what the actual amount was. So, and that's because you got Venture Global ships that are going to be coming in and out, and also we have a tariff increase that you're going to be voting on at the December meeting. So there is an increase. It's an increase over the actual amount. Next thing is ferry tolls, which we're budgeting $200,000. We had budgeted $250 last year, and the actual was more like $161. But in 2023, if you look at that, it's $279,000. So it is a kind of hard thing to judge, and depending on the boats that we have running and things like that, how long is one of the boats going to be out and things like that, it's hard to judge it. So to be conservative, we budgeted $200,000. All right, the next large item is interest, interest section. We're budgeting $600,000. In 2024, LAMP interest and Regions interest is $1.1 million. You say, well, why are you budgeting $600,000? Well, I don't know what the interest rates are going to do. Interest rates are on the way down, so to be conservative, we budgeted $600,000 for 2025. The next one is the rents and leases. They pretty much stay the same. Most of them are Venture Global leases. There are a couple new ones, and if Charles wants to talk about these, the Venture Global for $803,620, the Parcel 3 piano keys, that's a new one. The administration building, second floor, which is from Venture Global, is $175,000. Now that the building belongs to the port, we're collecting this money, we're not having to pay the lease anymore. And the other one for $17,964 is the 911 EOC that's in our administration building. So that's an increase in leases, 5.69%.
You, out of all them leases, have we heard any of them leaving yet?
Any of them leaving? I'm not sure I understand the question.
On the list of leases, I'll talk to you after, but one of them might be leaving.
Okay, yeah, we had not heard that yet, and so we can definitely talk about that offline.
All right, that pretty much finishes up the revenues. So you see that was on the fund balance sheet. $35,791,000 is your total revenues budgeted for 2025. All right. And, the next thing we could go into
Mr.
is
Surpass,
the,
1 minute, please. Let the record reflect that Commissioner LaFrance has joined us, so we now have 8 of 9 commissioners present. Thank you.
You have me on. I would like to apologize for being late, but I was going through my district. My district had flooded, so I just have to go around and see how bad that it was. Thank you.
Get up at 3 o'clock like I did.
I was up, but I don't run the pump.
Mine at 4.
okay, we'll go into the expenses now. And I do have amendments. When we met earlier, some of the council members asked for some amendments, and I have those amendments. We'll do those at the end, but if I see there's an amendment that's going to be in here, I'll bring it up while we go to these departments. So we're going to do this by division. So there's several divisions within the port. The first one is the General Operations Division. This is division which includes all the administration and those different things. You'll see that when we do the manpower, which employees are included in here. You'll see some increases. This budget does include the merit increases for 2025. So that's why you're going to see some increases. Also, there's a lot of vacancies in the administration side. So what happens with the group insurance, when there's a vacancy, we budget for 100% of like the maximum for group insurance for each person, each employee. So that's why you're going to see an increase, but of 37%. But really, there was if you look at the whole parish as a whole, there was really just a 3% increase in group insurance. The next thing you'll see a large increase is $89,000 for fire, wind, collision. That is because the insurance on the administration building, we purchased that building, now we have to pay the insurance. The parish paid for that before. Also, interagency fees that we pay the parish, that's for different departments, civil service, the council, fire, ambulance. Those went up. $68,000 for the regular service charges, and fire and ambulance was $212,000.
Go ahead and ask that question.
So yesterday, remember we talked about in one of the meetings about why do we pay fire, ambulance?
Yep.
So I asked the question yesterday, maybe you can confirm. So supposedly in the tariffs, what? No, I just want to add, in the tariffs that we charge, there's a fire and ambulance portion, correct?
That is correct. So
So-
I was listening to the conversation.
Okay, so that is correct, okay.
Yes.
I was just, because when we asked last week, we didn't really have an answer, so.
So you saying Harbor?
That's why you just stick right here.
Habo was
I never
correct.
get no calls from that side of the table.
Hey, yesterday I was in the middle,
Commissioner
so you
Koknovich
can't
was
say that
correct.
side.
So hold on, say it again?
Commissioner Kognovich was correct.
Okay.
And, I mean, for the record, the port definitely supports putting money into fire and
I just
rescue.
wanted to make sure we're doing
Bec-
things right.
Right.
That's it. Habo just
You
wanted to
heard
point.
that, huh?
Habo was right.
I was right.
Please say that again for the record.
Habo was correct.
3 times.
One more time?
Y'all said it like me.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. The next large increase is the utilities for electricity. That's because of the building. Again, we didn't have to pay that. But if you look a little bit further down, you see rents and leases went down 83,000. We're not having to pay that lease for the building. The $12,000 that's left in there is we lease a lot from the parish. That's back here on the complex. Another change is 25,000 with decrease in legal support. There is a position in the budget that you passed this year for the legal counsel, and we're in the process of trying to hire that person right now, so we're hoping that the legal support can go down some. Grass cutting, this is $100,000 that we're putting in the budget for a professional service contract for the grass cutting. That's around the Venture Global complex. With decrease in planning and engineering. Planning and engineering in this budget is mostly for the building. We're going to try to do renovations on the building, and the planning and engineering is included in here.
It's good, I'm sorry. Explain to me again, this part about the grass cutting around Global Ventures. I'm hearing you right?
That is the CEA that we put in place a couple of months ago, where the port will be responsible for cutting grass at the port-adjacent property. So Venture Global has a piece where they cut, but then when you start looking at the rest of Parcel 3, going into the other parcels that we're purchasing, including the ferry landings, the port will be responsible for taking care of that.
Okay, that's
And-
not Global
Yeah,
Ventures.
right, and our focus really is to make sure that we have safe ingress and egress
No, I'm good.
for vehicles coming and going.
Commissioner McCarty?
Mr. Surpass,
Yes, ma'am.
I mentioned this during our pre-meeting, but I just want to mention it today to request at some point, it's no rush, but some type of analysis, the cost analysis versus income on the building itself, like the cost to purchase, all our expenses now versus when we were renting, just to make sure we made a
I've
good
written that down,
decision.
But I'll write it down again to make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The next thing you see is pretty large, is the other charges, usage rates fees. This is the SP contract fee. So you can see a decrease of $612,000, and that is zero for 2025. A few other things, you look at capital outlay. There you see a decrease of $151,000 for the air conditioning, where the air conditioners on the building have already been completed. And so your expenses for the administration building for 2025, $7,733,931. Any questions on that division? The next division is rescue boats. You'll see here, the rescue boats do have, I think there's 3 or 4 vacancies right now, but they stay pretty well covered during the year. So you'll see, they do have a couple vacancies, so you see your group insurance is 8.92. That's closer to what our actual increase is. Not a whole lot of increases here. Professional services general is a 40,000 increase. But engineering went down 44,000. Vehicles, trucks, and vans went down 100,000. This is one that there's major repairs, and the engines. And if you have any questions on this, these increases, you can ask Jalen. He can definitely give you an explanation on those. Okay, the next division is the ferries. Ferries, as you're going to see, have quite a few vacancies, which we're working on right now with civil service to have an entrance increase in the salaries.
Yep, like Mr. Serp has said, we are working with civil service currently. There is a special interest rate that's approved, and just for you all awareness, the next step is to make sure we focus on retention with our current employees. So you'll see that coming up soon, whether it's in discussion in December or in the beginning of the year. And right now, we're setting up to where we're creating not only a great place to work, but one of the higher salaries in the state. So right now, we have folks looking at us coming to trying to work for our fire department.
Next large decrease you're going to see is $150,000 for insurance deductibles. This is something that was budgeted every year before now, and I didn't see a reason to put this in the budget, so we took this out. If there's something that happens, we have to use our insurance, we definitely have to come back to you guys anyway. So I didn't see a reason to just leave that same amount in there every year, so we're taking that out. The next thing with ferries, this one you're going to see a few changes. What's been happening in the past, a lot of the maintenance that's been done on the boats has gone to professional services. So if they call somebody out to do work on the boats, to maintain the boats, it's been charged to professional services. I don't think it should be charged there. I think it should go to maintenance boats. So you can see that we're decreasing $225,000 for professional services general, and we're budgeting that in the maintenance boats area. So you're going to see next year, there's going to be a lot more charges. There's only $47,000 there this year, but next year, you're going to see a lot more there, and less in the professional services.
And Mr. Newsom, to answer your question, we went back, looked at professional service general. There still will be some things that fall there, but what we're going to do in 2025, we're going to make new codes to make it specific. If we have something we think we're going to charge the professional services general, we're going to go back and say professional services, that name of that item.
Thank you. It makes it much easier for me to ask less questions.
Right. We're going to try to be more detailed. It still might say professional services, but it's going to go in a category that it goes into. All right, the next thing is parts and supplies. Boats, you had $32,000. Diesel on the ferries, $200,000. And property major repairs, this is something they didn't budget before. It's $250,000. It's for major repairs. I mean, as you know how much it costs to put a boat in the shipyard and things like that. This will wipe this out in a minute. So we figured we needed to put some money in here to, in case something like that happens. All right, the next division is communications.
Commissioner McCarty.
Along the same line as the building, I don't know if we were to have an analysis of the cost of running the ferries versus our expenses, if that would help us at some point to obtain a grant, to have some proof. So no rush, but could we do analysis just so that we know amongst ourselves at least how much it costs us to run the ferries versus how much we get in revenue? And if any grants are helping to cover some of those expenses?
Yes, and we've already done that, and we are looking at grants every year, and we're going after every possible grant that we have available. But, I mean, the reality is this. The ferry system is a loss leader for the port. No matter what we do, we will never turn that into a profit center. But what we are focused on, that's why we're going after a diesel-electric ferry boat, because we can drive the costs down. When you look at the operating costs for the Pride, it costs as much as operating the Belle Chase and the Point LaHash together. So by coming in and building in efficiencies, so that's that cost reduction, that's what's really going to be able to help us with the ferry system. But myself and Mr. Brown and Ms. Heather Agner, we spend many hours every year actually looking for grant funds for our ferry system. This is also why we entered into the CEA with RTA, and we've had discussions with RTA about scheduling meetings in Baton Rouge and D.C. to find out if there are other programs out there to help us to mitigate our costs as well. Mr. Brown, have I missed anything?
No, you definitely hit it on point. And just to reiterate what Mr. Tillotson said, look, we are going after grants every year, but it's not enough. So combined effort to strengthen the ferry service in the region is going to be definitely a critical part of my end as well as the staff.
Thank you. I appreciate you going after grants. It'd be lovely to see if we could break even one day with a grant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all for ferries. The next thing is communications. This one you see, we do have a couple of amendments for the communications department. We are going to decrease the trophies, plaques, and engraving by $20,000. And the technical support is going to go down by $12,000, and that's going to be moved to the operations budget. And the sponsorship is going to be increased by $25,000. There's a budget that's in the general operations division. We're going to move it to communications. And you'll get that amendment at the end.
It's good. Can you tell me what the sponsorship is? You said there's $20,000 for sponsorship.
Yeah, that sponsorship is for different activities, either in the community, in the business community. It could be supporting the YMCA, it could be supporting We Work the Waterways, it could be supporting other events as well. And what we are going to do starting next year is we're going to make sure that we put a detailed list out and then we make that available to the Port Commission so we can see exactly how we're planning to do that. Unfortunately for us, the challenge is every year there seems to be something new in the community or the business community where, someone is coming to us and asking us to support them. And, we are really making an effort to make ourselves part of the community, making ourselves known in the community. And the public benefit really is that the port is driving job growth, and we really need to be tied to the community to try to ensure that community members and that our young talent from high school, that they're at least taking a look at the port as an opportunity for employment.
Thank you.
Any other questions on communications? Next department is aviation. This one you'll see a decrease of $26,000 from the 2024 budget, and that's because I think there was maintenance that was done on the helicopter that decreased the budget for this. And we pay half of this. The Sheriff's Department actually has the helicopter. We pay half the budget for it.
What's the use percentage between them and us?
He wants to know the use percentage between the Sheriff's Department and the port of the helicopter,
In terms of the cost?
Well, using
how
it.
much you use.
I guess we could probably track that, but what I can tell you is the port is engaged with the Sheriff's Department on a continuous basis. Mr. Brown, you want to respond to that?
So going into 2025, and we're going to track it better, our rescue department, they schedule flights weekly, weather permitting, to survey and inspect our region. So we do use the helicopter quite a bit.
In addition, I'd like to point out that Plaquemine Sheriff's Department also was instrumental in coordinating with Jefferson Parish to get their bigger helicopter to do a dignitary trip. So I think it is a very good relationship, and we are clearly getting our use out of that helicopter.
'Cause I know one year for a storm, we asked to use it, and he was doing videos.
So going forward with that part, I remember that conversation. I applied for a grant in 2023 to get a camera on the helicopter, so that'll never be an issue in the future. And once that camera is installed, and Captain Sauer is flying, you'll be able to live stream it. So I knew there was quite an issue. He had to use his phone to show you all videos what's going on, but we have a solution to that problem.
Oh, we couldn't use it because the sheriff was doing his videos. Put on.
You know, I do remember the conversation as well, and what I can assure you, the hurricane that we had this year, the day after the hurricane, I went up with the pilot, and I did some video footage myself, and I was able to really assess, what happened to the Port District. And Mr. Brown and myself, we will definitely take these comments back. We will have some more discussions with the Sheriff's Department and make sure that at least we start to provide more visibility on what that relationship looks like and how the port is benefiting, and more importantly, what we do with the port, how that benefits the public. Because that's really, for us, that's what it's about. It's about the public benefit.
Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yeah, I just think it's important. I'm one of the people glad we did get footage from the sheriff, because people out of town didn't see anything. But I just seen where it took the political part out. It's not only pro, but working hand in hand with the parish president, the current administration, so people can get it, not from a biased point of view, but just as a overall thing. So I think that would just enhance. So it's not one versus the other, but to enhance each other. I think that would be, really good. Not necessarily just ain't a Pope doing it to be doing it, but doing it in relationship with the parish. We have a public relation person here working with the parish public relation, so we can get a good view of what's happening after the hurricane.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing is the next division is the maintenance division. This is a new division that we added on in 2024, so there's not a whole lot of history for this one. This is the maintenance that's done, that the employees will put on, there's diesel mechanics and some other foremans and things that we'll put all together in this department. So we'd have a maintenance department that takes care of all the boats, and also they do work on buildings and things like that also. The increases you're going to see here are $12,000 for the maintenance on towers, materials. So an increase of $43,000 in operations. But we decreased $93,000 in the major repairs area, and a total increase of $13,000 for the maintenance department. That is pretty much going to be it. Well, no, here we got land acquisition, I'm sorry. Land acquisition is a division. This is where we charge the expenses for purchasing land. You can see in the in 2024, 3.673 was spent on land acquisition, and we are budgeting $4 million to purchase property in 2025. You're going to see there's an amendment for the land acquisition, which is going to decrease the legal support, which we talked about earlier. We're going to put a council position on. That's going to decrease that by $50,000, but you can see there was no budget put in land appraisals, which we're going to need money there. So we're going to put the $50,000 there. So that'll be a wash.
You go back to maintenance for a second?
Yes, sir.
We only buying a lawnmower? Tractors, mowers,
So in previous years, my first year here, we did make a lot of major purchases, trailers, tractors, the parts for them. And the plan for the maintenance department is to build it slowly, build the historical data, how we actually use it. And the maintenance department is going to be in coordination with the maintenance contract we have. The maintenance contract we have is not just for the administration building, it's also for our other properties that we're going to continue to own and take care of.
we can cut all the property we own by LNG and need more than a zero turn.
Absolutely.
I think that's what the contract is
Commissioner LaFrance?
100,000.
Yes, are we utilizing that tower that's in Woodland?
Oh, yes, we are. We have cameras up there right now, and a couple of months ago, we had portion of it renovated. So we're definitely using it.
Okay, great.
And I'd just like to reiterate also on that tower and other towers, I mean, the port now has full visibility of, I think, almost 90% of the port district through high visibility, night vision, fog busting cameras. And this allows us to be able to see what's going on with storms. And in the future, you know, our plan is to ensure that we're using that technology with our marine inspectors so that we know what events to go to look at and respond to versus just going out and trying to figure out what happened.
Have we inspected and see what type of shape it's in?
Inspected the tower?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. We, several months ago, we inspected it. I didn't like what the shape was, so before we installed our new cameras, I had it renovated. We installed some new cameras on there. The building is in good condition now.
Great, great. Thank you.
No. So the dead zone that you're speaking of, that's in coordination with a tower in Port Selfor. We're working closely with the parish and the sheriff department. We received a grant to bolster that communications. So you'll see that coming down the pipeline in the future as well, in 2025.
Okay. So the next one was the land acquisition. We kind of covered that. Any questions on that? The next pages you're going to see are all the grants. These are the expenses for the grants that we talked about earlier. So that goes quite a ways. Not going to go through every page. The next thing you're going to see is on page 35, which is the financial administration. And this is just where we put in our depreciation, and we put in different things, which is for finance, retirees, insurance, compensated absence expense, things like that, things that we have to put in. The next thing is, well, we had put in, we didn't put a budget, but we had a couple expenses for Hurricane Francine in 2024. All right, I'm going to skip the capital projects pages on here because we have a capital project summary, and we can do a better job explaining that there. So let's go ahead and skip that, and we're going to go down to, the next thing is going to be the 5-year capital improvement plan.
Before we move on, Tom, anybody have any questions regarding the detailed revenue and expenditures? Question from the floor, from the table? Please proceed.
Okay. The next thing you see here is the capital improvement budget. A lot of these projects were projects that were budgeted in 2024, and even in prior years. I can't put all the years on here, so it would be too big. So I just started in 2024. These are projects that you actually did ordinances on to put money in budgets for these in 2024. In 2025, these are the only things that were added. The booster station of $100,000, which we put $100,000 in there because we're thinking that the first quarter of 2025, we're still going to have to pay for the temporary booster pumps. Also, economic impact analysis, $100,000 for 2025. And the ISO certification of $100,000 that Charles spoke of earlier. So total increases in capital projects for 2025 is $300,000. Now, you're going to see 26, 27, 28. Mr. Tilson spoke about this earlier. This is something that had been done in the past, but I suggested that we put projects in there so we can show where we need to be in the future. Now, these things are not funded for 26, 27, 28. When we get to those years, it'll just be where you know these things need to be done, and we'll have to find funding for them at that time. So I hate to call it a wish list kind of thing, but this is really what these things are.
Yeah, and I wouldn't refer to it as a wish list. I would refer to it as a planning tool. So we know that there are projects on there that we have to fund. So this is part of how we're setting our priorities for going after grants. We also went over this list with our revenue bond consultant. So we know a combination of revenue bonds, it could be TIF, RRIF loans, or grants. We know that over the next few years, we can prioritize how we need to go find the funding to ensure that we keep these projects moving.
Commissioner McCarty.
For 2025, is the 300,000 divided by the water booster station, the economic impact analysis, and the ISO 9004, or the numbers hard numbers? Or do we have estimates on those, or appraisals on those, or are they estimates?
The water booster station is for a quarter, so it's around 330, right over $30,000 a month for the water booster station. Now, the other
two, they are estimates based on conversations that we've had, but we're going to be in that ballpark, and if we need to deviate, my thought is it's probably going to be a little lower, but if we need to go above, obviously, we know we need to come back and present that to the Port Commission.
Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, on this land acquisition, are you basing this land acquisition on how you renaming it industrial area? Because I know before there was some conversation of paying people based on classifying areas as industrial versus how we did the appropriation of the land before. So, and do you have a list to show what land area we're talking about where this 20 million will come from?
Yeah, I can definitely provide a list of the properties, which is referred to as Piano Keys 3 by parcel. We are looking at reclassifying to heavy industrial for one reason, actually for two. The first reason is when we started the Piano Keys, we did not have a signed lease on parcel 3 with Venture Global to expand that project. And then number two, we didn't have a completed master plan with an actual plan to build a container terminal. So we have those two things now, and so we are going to just start the process to rezoning those properties, which is going to drive the costs up.
Commissioner Schultz.
You said Piano Keys 3?
2.
Okay, I was like, wait, hold on, what are we talking about?
2, I'm sorry, 2.
Okay, back on.
I saw that look on your face, I was
I was
wondering.
like, wait, where are we talking
2,
about now?
Piano Keys 2. We'll provide that list.
I disagree.
You good?
Okay. Any questions on the capital improvement budget?
I'd also like to say we're sending that analysis on the building. I mean, it's really just an overview on the admin building, our cost versus our revenue, which it is definitely positive. We're sending that as we speak.
Okay, the next thing is going to be the manpower table, and we're going to go through this by division like we did the expenses. As I said earlier, the General Operations Department, there's several vacancies right now. I do have a couple amendments for this division. The Deputy Director position is going to be eliminated. The IT Analyst position is going to be unfunded. And the GIS Analyst, which is in the rescue boats, is going to be unfunded. What we'd like to do is put on an IT Manager position, unclassified. You'll see a budget adjustment for that also. And I think that's it on that. So you see there are several vacancies in this, this division, which we're in the process of filling those vacancies now.
And if I can just add to that, Mr. Chairman, essentially by removing the deputy, we're not taking that functionality away. What we're creating is a C-suite. So we will have a chief financial officer, we'll have a chief administrative officer, and then we'll have our legal counsel. So that'll be that C-suite. And so that's how we plan to perform, still continue to absorb the duties of a deputy. And then in terms of the GIS, eliminating the GIS analyst and the IT analyst, we're creating one IT manager, so we're merging those two positions together because those are very low-level positions, and because of our IT management demand and because of the risk of cybersecurity attacks, we really need to have an in-house IT expert. We're very confident we have 2 firms that do IT and cybersecurity and GIS for us right now, and they're doing a very good job. We're very happy with them, but we need to put that expertise in-house with the port as well.
Mr. Serpaz, you also need to adjust the executive director's salary on here as well.
Yes, sir. I do have an amendment for that. I'm sorry, I missed out.
Commissioner Schultz.
And do you have an amendment for the CFO that we talked about due to what we're running into with the salary?
No, I didn't increase that. I figured we'd do that once we know how much it's going to be.
I recommend that we just go ahead.
Yeah, I rather recommend do it now.
We can do it
Okay, we'll
now.
deal with that later. Okay.
Commissioner Kokrovich.
What's that?
We putting your name in as permanent chief of finance?
No, sir.
I would second that.
Let's just move on. No, I've been here a while now, so I mean, it's a little longer than I wanted to be. But
Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, and we're laughing about that, but I think in the meeting, I told Mr. Surpass, the last meeting we had, I saw him as an employee, not as a country, because how long he really been there. I thought it was extremely long. So maybe he need to do some, Charles maybe not stronger than negotiator I thought you was, because you should really be making it.
And I can tell you one thing.
Offer him a deal he just can't refuse.
I tell you, we've really been hammering it too, trying to get somebody in here too. It's not like we haven't been doing it. We just haven't been getting a whole lot of resumes, and the ones we have, have been.
Actually, we received a lot of resumes, but the problem is that what we're finding is the qualifications are not going to be able to get the job done. And I think the big surprise is that, I mean, we know now through negotiations with 2 different parties where the salary range needs to be. So that's a conversation that I'd like to have today.
Okay, so if we move on to the rescue boats, we talked about the GIS analyst, that's going to be deleted. There are 3, now this, when we did the proposed budget, this was in October, I think a couple of these positions have been filled since then. I think we have maybe 2 now for rescue boats that are vacant. If we go down to ferries, you're going to see there's quite a few vacancies. And I don't think any of these have been filled, so this is pretty accurate. All the oranges are vacancies, and you see there's quite a few of them. And I think, Mr. Brown.
Yep, and I just want to make one more comment. I said it earlier, but in regards to our vessel licensed positions, we have the SER rate in there for new employees. Right now, we're working with civil service for all the employees we have to bring them up. So you're going to see some legislation. Most likely in December, we're going to talk about it at the pre-board of what that number will look like for our current employees.
Commissioner Newsom.
Yeah, how many folks are we utilizing for the ferry department through GLOW?
We're utilizing 3 at the moment.
Just 3?
And I
And that covers our captains, or?
So the 3 we're utilizing at the moment allows us to run the split shift. As we mentioned at pre-boards, is a temporary solution. The permanent solution is to get our employees' rates up, which we're halfway there with a special interest rate, and we'll be fine.
And those 3 GLOW, that's ferry captain 2?
One's a chief ferry engineer, 2 are captains, and all 3 of them are retirees of the port.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'd just like to emphasize that, I mean, the fact that we're able to run 2 ferries during rush hour, it is impactful, and we see what it does. It actually, keeps the line under control. It keeps the chaos down. But we could not do that without the GLOW contract. And we believe that what we're doing with that special entry rate, the SER rate, and then right-sizing where the ferry crew, where they're at today, we believe that we're going to be able to solve that problem. And ultimately, we'd like to keep GLOW as an option, but we shouldn't need it the way that we need it today. And this is particularly important because as of January, we are going to have Point Lahash Ferry Landing back up running again, and which means it's going to stretch us out a little more. So the relationship with GLOW and what we're doing with this special entry rate is absolutely critical.
Commissioner LaFrance?
He just covered it. I was gonna ask him about, what type of shape we're gonna be in once, Point Lahash Ferry gonna be up and running. Thank you.
Commissioner McCarty?
Regarding the relationship with GLOW, when we hire people, will the salary be the same, comparable, less, more? I'm just wondering, you said we won't be relying on GLOW. I'm just wondering, where are our expenses change?
I'll let Mr. Brown talk to that, but what our goal on our permanent staff is to get our crews to a competitive market range where, we can attract and retain, but at the same time, we're working on the culture to improve the culture where they want to stay with us. Mr. Brown, did I miss anything?
So we've attracted with the special interest rate. Based off the special interest rate, we will retain, we use the same number to get our current employees to that level as well. And as for GLOW, the expenses for it, they equal out sort of, because with GLOW, we're just paying them straight salary. On our end, it's the combined salary and benefits. So that's where we're at. I know we had a conversation about the cost-benefit analysis of using a staffing agency or using our employees filling out our roster. The short answer is that's a temporary solution with GLOW, even though we need it now. The long-term plan is get our employees where they need to be soon and fill out our roster. At the moment with the special entry rate, I have folks lined up, and as for our current employees, they're right along with them. We're going to get them to the same level fast, soon.
It sounds like we will be breaking even the difference between having people in-house and hiring people from GLOW. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Kognovich?
And once these ferry ramps are finished, do we have a line item for maintenance on them?
So we mentioned it earlier. It's going to be a combination of professional service planning and engineering, and that professional service part for professional services general, we're going to break it out as we get costs to it. So professional services, landing repair, et cetera.
And I'd like to just add to that, I mean, if you remember, we just approved IEM to come in, and we're completely redoing our policies and procedures for the boats. And preventive maintenance is going to be part of our policy. So we are going to be taking a different look at ensuring that as we make these needed repairs, that in the future that we're out in front of completing that preventive maintenance to prevent the deterioration that and as far as I'm concerned, that Mr. Brown and I we inherited it, and I'd like to publicly commend Mr. Brown because, in December of 2022, we really inherited a broke system, and on the vessel side as well as on the Point Lahash ramp side, and I think we've taken a different look, and I really have to give all of the commendations to Mr. Brown because he's worked tirelessly to pull this together.
I don't blame any of y'all on the ramps, because we sat here and the council accepted the engineering inspection saying everything was good. And the next week, DOTD closed each ramp down, so.
And that's the day that Reverend Edwards choked me.
Look, what I would like to say about our ferry department, look, we turn in our lemon into lemonade is ours. We're going to continue to make it better.
Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yeah, and again, y'all know I'm one that's hard critic, but I want to commend Mr. Brown and him because, and I said that yesterday related to the Empire Bread, we've been piecemeal and stuff too long, and sometimes we got to make a sacrifice to do it right. So I'm glad the approach we did with the Point Lahash Fair, it was inconvenient. It was sort of like Hurricane Katrina. We was inconvenient for a while to come back better. And I just think you all did an amazing job. And especially the fact that you're putting in place a maintenance process to take place so what happened in the past doesn't happen again. So I really want to give you all the kudos and stuff. If I was a rich man, I'll send y'all on a 2 weeks cruise to your favorite part of the world, but I can't.
I'll be waiting.
I'll send them on a ferry across the river.
Commissioner McCarty. Commissioner McCarty.
Since Mr. Tillotson mentioned it, I wanted to also say that on the side, I had told Mr. Brown that we've had side conversations among council members saying that we really appreciate the work that you've been doing. You've really stepped up. We see you excelling in your career. We hope you continue to gather around you a variety of experiences because we know you're going to soar in your career. And so even yesterday, I kind of tried to inquire if we could give you a bonus, but we can't because you're civil service. So
Say
it's not
bonus?
allowed. I know, it's not allowed, I'm sorry.
But that's as long as you stay in Plaquemines Parish.
Please continue, Tom.
Okay. The next department division is Director of Communications, just one employee there, no vacancies. And the maintenance, we have one vacancy, one vacant marine diesel mechanic, and the other positions are filled there. Any questions on that? All right, the next thing is just something we need to put in the budget. That's pretty much it from our presentation. What's next at the back is the ordinances. What we plan to do, I think Kim scheduled a special council meeting, port meeting for 11. And so we have 3 ordinances that pertain to the 2025 budget. And you, just like the parish you did yesterday, I'm sure, you'll go ahead and vote on these 3 ordinances, and that'll pass what's ever in this book. So what we'll do next is we'll go to the amendments. We'll go through each amendment. You can vote on those. And then I don't know if you want to do them in global or how you want to do them, but I have copies of each one of them.
Yeah, we'll do them individual.
Huh?
Thick amendments.
Yeah, no, it's just a bunch of copies is all it is.
Get in the book.
No,
It's just copies.
Just for just for everyone's information, we'll do each one individually because they are important, and we'll cover them out. So,
What I can do is, if you don't want to get the copies, I could bring them up on the screen and we could just do them that way.
yeah,
Okay. Both? Okay. Sorry, Erica. No, it's all right. Hey, that's why I made copies. I didn't know,
Thank you.
Budget discussion.
Like to welcome 2 past commissioners, Mr. Richie Blink and Benny Roussel, to the audience today.
Adding 30. Yeah, okay.
all right.
I'm good. Hey. 75. I mean,
We can.
I'd rather, let's get Chris.
Okay, okay. Yo, they all done? Okay.
Mr. Surprise, you ready to begin?
Yes, sir, I'm ready. I'm going to put these up on the screen so we can make sure y'all have the right ones.
Read off the fund number, because that's the only way we're going to find them, because they're all page one.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the number. So now, so the first one is going to be for the, is going to be a negative 196,425 to defund and delete the deputy director position. That's going to be amendment number 1.
Wait, defund what?
The deputy director position.
Offered by Commissioner Schultz. Second by Commissioner Newsom. Yeah. All right, you want to, any discussion from, you want to describe it?
It's defunding and deleting the deputy director position, which we had discussed earlier. That position is going to go away. Charles can,
Yeah, and again, that just comes back to having a CFO and a CAO, so a higher level person, which that function will just be absorbed by both.
Yeah. Any comments from the floor? Comments from the table? Machines are open. And it passes 8-0, with one being absent. Next item.
okay, the next one is going to be for a total of $38,820. That is to increase the executive director's salary based on his new contract, which wasn't passed at the time we did this proposed budget.
I offer. Ask for a second. Second from Commissioner Edwards. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. I almost said McCarthy. And it passes 8-0.
Okay, that was amendment number 2. This could be amendment number 3. And this one is to make changes to the communications department we discussed earlier. Professional services trophies decreased $20,000. Technical services software support decreased $12,000. And other charges sponsorship increased $25,000 for a total of negative $7,000.
Okay. I offer. Ask for a second. Second from Commissioner McCarty. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. And it passes 8-0. Next item.
Okay, the next one is for General Operations Department. This is, you saw sponsorships on communications. This is taking the money out, $25,000 out of sponsorships. Also, technical services software support, we're increasing $10,000 here. And professional services general, we rounded it off to $240,000 after we looked at it, and it's a decrease of $34,930. So a total of $49,930 decrease.
I offer. Ask for a second. Second from Commissioner McCarty. Comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. Commissioner Kognovich. It passes 8-0. Next item.
Next one is amendment number 5, and this one is for the land acquisition department. That is to decrease legal support general $50,000 and increase professional services appraisals for about $50,000, a net of 0.
I offer. Ask for a second. Second from Commissioner McCarty. Any comments from the floor? From the table?
That's the one for land acquisition.
Yeah, they're all out of order. I got it. Yeah.
Y'all got any more of those?
Commissioner Kognovich, you still need a copy? We need one for Commissioner Kognovich? Okay. Everybody's good. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. Passes 8-0. Next item.
Next one is amendment number 6, which is for to defund and delete the vacant classified IT analyst position. Total of $98,740 decrease.
Is that general operations? Well, that's
That is general operations, yes, ma'am.
I ask for a second. Second by Commissioner Edwards. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. It passes 8-0. Next item.
Next amendment is number 7, and it is to defund and delete the vacant GIS analyst position, which is in the rescue boats division. Total of $96,688.36.
Offered by Commissioner Newsom, seconded by Commissioner McCarty. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. Next item.
All right, next one is number 8, and it's going to be to create and fund an unclassified IT manager position, a salary of $120, total of $162,690. That's in the General Operations Department.
Offered by Commissioner McCarty. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Newsom. Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open. And it passes 8-0.
Okay, I do have one more that was requested by Councilmember Schultz. I don't have copies of this one, but I can read it out to you. It's going to be in the general operations budget, and it is an increase the salaries and wages for the CFO position by $30,000.
What's the total? The total on that?
170 is going to be the total.
170.
So it's 30,000 increase.
Offered by Commissioner Schultz, second by Commissioner McCarty. Commissioner Schultz, will you offer an explanation, please?
All right, so originally, when we started this process a couple of months ago, we were talking, I think, 110 range, and, I mean, I'm in the industry, I was like, that's not realistic, we need to go up to 140 for somebody qualified. We've interviewed 3 people, I mean, we got multiple resumes, interviewed 3 people, and every one of them, I was off on my estimate, and realizing that we really need to be in the 170 range for what we want and need. I mean, I could see it from the industry. I didn't think it would be that high here, but I was wrong based on who we interviewed and everything. That was one of the sticking points on both interviews and everything. So I'd rather take care of it now before we go through the next round of interviews where we're not trying to do this, offer a person a job, but then have to do budget amendment at that point. I mean, I'm hoping Mr. Tilson will negotiate and not just go automatically to the max. But like I said, I mean, industry standards are, I mean, for CPAs and everything are, I almost wanted to say I want to take it myself. I yield.
And if I could just add, I mean, this was also a audit hit for 2023, right, where we did not have that position filled by a permanent person. So, and if you look back last year, I mean, I think when we advertised this position, it was under $90,000. So, I mean, you really get what you pay for, and I think we've at least done our due diligence now, and we know, you know, competitively where we need to be with the caliber of individual that we're looking for.
Commissioner Kognovich?
I'd just like to bring up that you just heard it here today. I was right and he was wrong.
I was thinking the same thing. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
Any comments from the floor? From the table? Machines are open.
You admit that you
And it passes 8-0.
you admit that you was wrong, but you was mistaken.
Okay,
All right, let's wrap this up.
that includes all of our amendments, unless y'all have any others. The total is a negative $217,003.93 that we're going to be adding to the fund balance by doing the amendments that you did. That's going to change this book. So, yes, 217,003.93, yes.
That you're adding to it, right?
Yes, you add your fund balance, whatever your fund balance was, the 7 million, it's going to add to that. Because we actually decreased the expense.
We say we decreased.
We save money, yes. Yep.
Any other comments from the floor? From the table? Motion to,
Before we go,
Commissioner
I'd like
LaFrance.
to recognize our two distinguished councilmen, retired, Mr. Benny Roussel and Mr. Richie Blank.
Forgot his name.
Yeah, once you hit over 60, that's it.
Yep.
Mr.
Might have a
Chairman,
motion from
Mr.
Commissioner Schultz.
Mr. Chairman, before we close out, I'd also just like to acknowledge the port staff. I mean, as you could see, I mean, we have the accounting department here with Mr. Surpass. You know, we have projects, we have communications, the vessels. We had multiple meetings preparing for this, and I will tell you, I was in full force as Chuck, and I think I rubbed some people the wrong way, but we put a lot of time and effort into, you know, trying to make this process go smooth today. So I want to acknowledge them because, I mean, they really did the work behind the scenes.
Commissioner LaFrance.
Yes, before we go, I didn't get a chance to do my my recording of Point LaHash. Just ferry ramp. Give us just a little quick update where we at. I think we finished with the riprap.
Let's let Celeste.
I just put them in my mouth, Carlton. But with the weather, we've been having to put off completing the after placement survey for the Corps to approve. So once, like, all of the rock has been placed, then they have to do the after placement survey. That gets sent off to the Corps. Once that is approved, then everything else will be on track and stay on schedule. So we're still on schedule for January. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a motion to adjourn
So often.
till 11 o'clock by Commissioner Schultz, and I take that as a second by Commissioner Kognovich. Machines are open. I'll be back at 11. We'll- And it passes 8-0. Let the record state that we adjourned at 10:28. We'll reconvene at 1100 hours.